Hi, welcome to Annie's YouTube channel. My name is Katelyn, and today we're going to be talking about the Venus kit from the Simply Beads Kit of the Month Club. Today we're going to talk about what comes in your box and how you can adjust the pattern just slightly to give you a bunch of extra beads so that you can make matching items like a bracelet, some earrings, and even a second pendant necklace. If you're not already subscribed to the Simply Beads Kit of the Month Club, go ahead down to the description box below where you'll find a link so that you can sign up and join us here every month. The kit will come to you monthly with all the materials that you need, and we'll start by talking by what you get in each of your monthly kits. Today we're talking about the Venus kit from Annie's Simply Kit of the Month Club, Simply Beads. And so inside your kit you have a pattern for this beautiful necklace with tassel, and it's a super long necklace. Now most of the kits that we have necklaces and earrings, necklaces and bracelets, or some kind of combination, but because of the length of this necklace, it comes by itself. So I want to start out, let's take a look inside the kit and what you get each month, and then I want to show you some options that you can do so that you could make a necklace and a bracelet to go with it if you like. So looking at the kit here, it comes in this nice little package that breaks out everything that you need for the month, and usually if you need other pieces, they would be in these compartments instead of just all beads. So for this month, you'll see that you have a couple packages of beads to make your long chain. You also have your focal pendant, you have your tassel, the needle needed for the project, and you have your stringing material all packaged separately so you know exactly what you're getting. Each month, you'll find one of these packages with everything broken out along with your full pattern instructions that you'll be able to use to create the piece by following along. So the directions themselves talk about this long necklace here, which has a very long chain of beads. And you'll see inside there's a tying technique because each of them is knotted in between and you're working on silk thread. So if you still like your long necklace, let's go with that idea. But if we don't want to do beads all the way around, we can do something like this. So here I have my tassel, just like I have here in my instructions. I have my beads started, but I stopped after using, in this case, 15 beads. Now again, this could be determined by how long you want yours to be and how you want it to fit. And then I just took the remainder of my thread and left it on and knotted it here onto a little hoop to go ahead and make a clasp. If you don't have a hoop, you can knot the two ends together and just have it, and then I put some glue right here over the knots to keep it secure. So now I have this great multi-texture piece because I've got my thread up here, I've got my beads down here, and I've got my nice tassel here. So what this does for me is this used one bag of my beads, and I still have 3 more bags to go ahead and make things with. So what I decided to do was make a pair of earrings to go ahead and match. Now I'm using the same hoops here because I used it here as my clasp just to tie everything together. And so I would like to show you how simply you can make these earrings. Okay, let's talk about making these great little dangle earrings, and they only require 2 of your beads, so you're still going to have a ton left over. Even if you want to make a full necklace piece, just leave 2 left over so that you can make a pair of earrings. So I'm just going to pick out 2 beads here. I'm trying to find 2 that are similar because they're earrings. They don't have to be perfectly the same, but I do like them to be similar colors instead of going with one more orange and one more brown. So I'm going to go with these 2. I also have 2 ear hooks, and I have 2 of my twisted loops. Now these are a fully closed jump ring, so you can't open them and close them to attach them. They're fully soldered around, which makes it really great for earrings because you know that your piece isn't going to fall off. You can get these at your local craft stores or online at different retailers as well. We're also going to be using 22 gauge wire, And this is going to be used to make our little head pin here for the beads. Now, if you have head pins, you can gladly go ahead and use it, but what we're going to do here is make this little rosette type head pin right here on the end, just using our pliers to make it. So we're going to cut a length of, let me grab my cutters, a length of wire here. It doesn't need to be too long because we're only putting one bead on it, but it is always better to have a little bit extra than not enough. I'm going to go ahead and take my round nose pliers and I'm going to pinch the wire right up here at the very tip as close as I can get, and I like to roll away from myself. You can roll towards yourself, but you're trying to keep it right up here at the tip of the pliers. And I'm going to go around 3 times so that when I come back to my join, I've got 2 full coils. Okay, so now you can see that my wire's on my right side, and I want to take the end of it and I want to bring it through on the left to make a full loop so that it holds together. So I'm going to hold this in my finger. This is the coils that we did, and I'm going to slowly just maneuver this around into a loop and feed it back through my hole like that. Then I'm going to grab it and I'm going to pull it through. Now, a little trick to get rid of this hoop completely is to take what's called a nylon jaw pliers. I'm going to grab it here right against my knot, and I'm going to take a chain nose pliers and I'm going to grab here at the end and pull. And that allows me to cinch up the end really nicely without marring my metal. Just like that. Okay? So once I have that all done, I'm just going to take my bead and thread it on. And then I'm going to cut off my end about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch, because you can always cut off more. Just snip that off. And I'm going to take my, my round nose pliers again. And I'm going to start here at the top, a little bit further down this time so I have a bigger loop. And I'm just going to roll away so that it comes around and snugs up here with a little loop at the top. I'll then take my chain nose pliers and I will open up the loop by twisting away, and I will thread on my twisted ring. And I will then go ahead and close up my loop that I just made. So now I have my loop attached to my ring. The last thing that we need to do to finish off this earring is take our ear wire. Again, doing the same thing. I'm taking my loop here, twisting away to open it, threading on my twisted ring, and then taking my pliers again and twisting it back to close it. And now I have a great little earring that matches my set. If you're following along with me and you decide to do the beaded necklace with the silk on the end, you are going to still have more beads left over even after making your earrings. And so here is another necklace idea of something that you can do. In this case, I took some chain that I had from a leftover kit, and I made these little spacer sections of the beads that came from this current kit with some extra spacers in here on an eye pin, using the eye on the one end and making my own loop on the other to attach my chain pieces. This is very similar to what we did with the fringe benefits kit. So if you need to know how to make a chain like this, you can check out that YouTube video here on the channel as well. Today we're going to talk about this pendant in particular and how to make this pendant and the tassel to go with it. You will see that I did use my twisted loop here again so that everything would go together, but you don't have to. You could just use jump rings, which I can show you as well. So to start off making our pendant piece, you're going to need to pick up some of these hoops at your local craft store. And these are actually earring hoops, and you just take them like this and you pull them apart. You can string your beads on or whatever else you want to, put it back together, and then you would use the hoop at the top to add earrings. Instead of earrings though, we're going to just use one and make this really cool pendant. So you start off by opening up your loop, and I started with just a pattern of 1 spacer and 1 bead, and just continuing that around for the length of the hoop. When you do this, you can either determine if you want to have a pattern for it or just do something random. And for me, I'm just doing something random. It's exactly what I did with this necklace and with the necklace that comes in the kit. Rather than trying to figure out a pattern, I just randomly did it, making sure I didn't get too many of the same color right next to each other. But other than that, not really caring. If you want to map it out, I would do that before you start stringing it on and kind of lay the pieces out so you know exactly where you want them to go in your piece. And so here we're just going to continue to thread on the beads and the spacers until, get one more on here, until we get here to the end. And we just have a little bit left. And this is what we're going to use to stick back in here to finish our loop and space the beads around. Now, if this were a lightweight earring, I would just let it go like that. But because these beads are quite heavy in comparison to the hoop, we're going to glue this just to be sure that it doesn't come apart. So I'm going to actually take this back out, and I'm going to be using some super glue for this project, and I like to use the Ultra Gel Control because it really gets it where I want it. And I'm going to carefully, give me a second to get this right, hold this, I did see that fall off, and I'm going to put a drip right here on the end of my hole. I'm going to put my spacer back on, and I'm just going to push this through, and that glue will go right through and hold it into place. Now make sure you don't cover up this hole here if this is the exact same one that you're using, because we're going to need that to attach our tassel. So then I'm just going to set this aside for a little bit to let that start to dry and close up my glue. And then we'll get started on making our tassel. Next, we're going to talk about making this tassel right here that we're going to put inside the center of our pendant. Now, once you're done with making your necklace, if you did it the way I did with some extra thread on the end, you're still going to have extra silk left over. Now, I had enough silk that I went ahead and I made a bracelet the exact same way I made my necklace. The only difference is that I started it off tying it onto my hoop, again putting glue here to hold my knot. And then at the end, I tied it onto a lobster clasp so that I could connect it, again, putting a dab of glue on just the end 2 knots. So I was able to make this bracelet in the exact same manner as the necklace instructions, and I still had 2 pieces left over. So the first piece I used to make this tassel, and here we're going to use the second one to make a second tassel. So to make a tassel, you need to have 2 points that you're going to wrap around. You could do this with a piece of cardboard, but I have this little loom, and this was the perfect length for what I wanted, so I'm using this peg and this peg to make my tassel. So what you're going to do is you're going to start here and hold it on, and you're just going to wrap around the 2 pegs that you have, or around the little piece of cardboard, or put around the 2 prongs, the outside prongs of a fork. And this is just determining the overall length that you're going to have for your tassel before you get started. So we are going to be cutting the tassel afterwards, but this is just to get us started. Okay, so now I have this all put together, and I'm going to take a jump ring and I'm going to open this up. So I have my split right here at the top, and I'm just going to take my 2 pliers and I'm going to twist it to open it. And then I'm going to take it and feed it right here through the top, making sure that I catch all of the threads, which I think I did. Yep, there we go. And then I'll take my pliers and twist this back closed. And that's just going to hold the top for us to start. I'm going to go back in here and snug things up a little bit and everything else. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that's close to the top. Now, it's not a perfect joint. It's okay. We're going to fix it. And I'm just going to pinch this and pull it off, holding this together. So I have my jump ring here at the top, and I have all my wrapped pieces together. And I'm just pinching it right here close to the top because that's where I'm going to do my wrapping. So here I'm using some 24 gauge wire. You could go with something thinner if you want. This is just what I have on hand and what's comfortable. I'm going to stick that through here just so I have a place to pinch it. And I'm just going to start wrapping around my tassel. Now I'm pulling this tight because I want to have a tight wrap. You don't want it to be loose or your tassel pieces could fall out. And you can decide if you want your wraps to just lay next to each other or if you want it to be a little bit more messy like this is and kind of overlap. So once I got my wraps snugged up, I turned it the other way to give myself some more room, and I just continued wrapping as many times as you want. Now I have my two ends here, so I'm going to use my cutter and snip them off. Make sure you hold your ends so they don't go flying. Okay. And then I'm going to use my pliers just to press it down, make sure that my ends aren't sticking out and poking up. This one's still a little too long. And so I can cut that again and press it in. Okay, now I can see that my jump ring is not the perfectly closed that I would like it, so I can come back in here and fiddle around with it a little bit. I'm not going to get too worried because I'm going to open it back up at the end. So now we have these loops here and some extra long pieces, and you can go ahead and you can use the scissors, you can use your cutters, whatever you'd like to do. Cut off the ends, and then you need to come in here and you need to cut each of the loops open. Okay, so now you have the start of your tassel. You'll see here though that this one is much more open as opposed to this one, and that's because you have all of your threads twisted. So I'm actually going to go through and untwist all of these threads, pulling them apart, whichever's easier for you, holding it this way or pulling them through, and you're just going to go through and untwist all of these. Once I untwisted these, I did get the threads or the silk wet to try and start the straightening process. And then after I did that, as you can see, I've separated them here. You can go back and twist the other direction and it'll actually separate that twist even further to get this look here. And this will continue to untwist as it's worn and used, but you're just trying to start it. So then what I did is I held it up here in my piece to determine how long I wanted it to hang. And then you can cut it, you can leave it long. If your pieces are longer, maybe it hangs out of your pendant over the top. However you like it, you can do that. And then you're just going to take your pliers and reopen that jump ring. So again, you don't have to be perfect. And just slip it right through this hole in your pendant. And get the two ends, oops, and twist them together. And now I have my tassel attached. Again, I'm gonna go wet this so that it kind of straightens out a little bit more. And then what you can do is add your jump rings to the top. In this case, I took a jump ring and added my twisted loop and then put two jump rings on the top to be able to feed my chain through. If you don't want to use your twisted ring, or if you don't have one, you can just go with the two jump rings and put your chain directly on top of your pendant. Thanks so much for joining me today to learn about the Venus kit from the Simply Beads Kit of the Month Club from Annie's. I hope you learned some different techniques on how you could use the materials in your kit to make beautiful pieces that you'll want to wear all the time. If you aren't already subscribed, head down to the description box below where you'll find a link that you can sign up for the monthly kit. You'll also see down there you can subscribe to the Annie's YouTube channel so you'll never miss when a new video comes out. And if you click that notification bell, you'll get little notifications when we go live. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Thanks!